It's time for Come and Talk It with your host, Michael Cargill, brought to you by Texas Law Shield. Over the last decade, Michael has championed and supported the rights of law-abiding Texans to own and use firearms. He is the owner of Central Texas Gun Works, a veteran of the United States Army, and has achieved national exposure in such prestigious media outlets such as Forbes Magazine, Fox Business News, CNN Money, AOL, BBC World News, Huffington Post, and the New York Times. Cargill vigorously defends lawful gun ownership in this country without regard to party politics. And now, here's Michael Cargill.
Good day, Austin, Texas, the live music capital of the world. Let's praise the Lord and pass the ammunition. All right, so today I want to talk about constitutional carry. It has passed the Texas House. And folks, this has not passed Texas, okay? So we have constitutional carry that only passed the Texas House. It still has to go to the Senate, and it still needs to be signed by the governor in order for it to go into law. If it is signed, it will not go into law until September the 1st of 2021. Also, I want to talk about what does that mean for Texas gun laws. Also, we have inside studio Ty Cody. He comes to the show to talk to us about crypto, stocks, and guns. And I also want to talk about the shooting that's happening right now in North Austin. There's a shooting that the media is calling a mass shooting. Folks, let me tell you, that's not a mass shooting. That's domestic violence. You have a police officer who used to be a Travis County Sheriff's officer who was charged with a sexual, something with a minor. And now he apparently killed his entire family and now is running from law enforcement. There's FBI. Yep. If you want to carry a long gun, you want to carry a rifle, a shotgun, an AR-15, an AK-47, you can actually walk down the street and you can openly carry or concealed carry a rifle, a shotgun. You can have it in the open. You can have it concealed. It can be in your vehicle, fully loaded, concealed in the vehicle. You don't need a license for the long gun, the rifle, the shotgun, the AR-15, the AK-47. That goes all the way back to 1869. Back to 1869. Now, you want to say, well, why is that, Michael? Why is it that, with long guns, you can actually you can openly carry a long gun, but you can't carry a handgun and walk down the street with it unless you have a license? Well, you got to think about, how did gun control first start in the country? Well, in this nation, our first gun control law was back in the 1600s, where in the Northeast, Indians, if you were selling firearms or you were repairing firearms of indigenous people, Indians, you were convicted of a crime, and the punishment of that was death. You could not sell or repair firearms to indigenous people, Indians. That was the first gun control law in this nation in the 1600s. And then let's look at Texas. You come down to Texas, you say, well, Michael, what was the first gun control law in Texas? Well, free slaves could not have access to guns. So when you're looking at gun control, it's always about controlling certain groups of people. It's all about making sure there's certain people that can't have access to those guns. And that is how gun control actually has evolved around the world and this country. It's always targeting certain groups of people. So in Texas, free slaves could not have access to guns. And then you look at 1869, they said, you know what? The majority of people live down in Galveston, Texas. Down in Galveston, they have rifles, they have other tools, they have, swords, they have axes and things of that nature. And so, we want to make sure that they can keep those. They're not restricted. And so, I want to make sure those are not restricted. So they say, you know what? We're not going to regulate those long guns, but we are going to start regulating handguns. So in 1869, they say, you know what? To take the class since constitutional carry is going to pass. Let me tell you, you are a complete idiot. You are a fool if you are going to carry a gun and you don't take a class and learn what the laws are. Are you completely out of your mind? Are you not aware? Do you not look at the news? Do you not pay attention to what's going on? If you don't know the laws, if you don't know what you can and what you cannot do with that handgun, you will get shot, you will die, you will get hurt, you will go to jail for the rest of your life if you don't educate yourself about your firearm. You need to know when you can carry the firearm, what you can, what you cannot do. When can you shoot someone? Can you shoot them in the back? What happens if someone breaks into your house? You can have a gun inside your house, but when can you use that gun? Can you shoot them? Can you shoot someone that's in your backyard? Can you shoot someone that's banging on your front door? You didn't know what the laws are, what you cannot do. Those are the things I want to talk about with Edwin Walker. He's a principal attorney with Texas and U.S. Law Shield. We're going to talk about that. Going to break down constitutional carry. I want to talk about, gang members. When it comes to this constitutional carry bill, is it saying that gang members can now carry a gun in Texas? When it comes to constitutional carry, is it now saying that, hey, do I need a license to carry a gun on a college campus? Let me tell you something. Your state representatives in the state of Texas are the dumbest elected officials that we have in this country. The dumbest, because they don't read crap. They don't read anything. They don't pay attention. All they do is they will pass something and have no knowledge about what they are actually passing. When it comes to these laws, you got to know, you got to read the bills. Okay, so can a college student carry a gun on a college campus, with or without a license with this current bill? It took us years, decades to pass constitutional carry. And if you think that the Senate and the governor is going to sign a bill that allows anyone to carry a gun on a college campus without a license, you're losing your mind. And let me tell you something, folks. Do not confuse Texas with Arizona. We have people that they're trying to mix in, Texas and Arizona together. Let me tell you something about Arizona. Arizona only has about 350,000 license holders in that state. Texas, we have 1.5 million. Let me tell you something, people. Do not confuse my Texas, Lone Star State, with Arizona. This is not Arizona. In Arizona, you cannot carry a gun on a college campus like you can in the state of Texas with a license. In Arizona, you can carry a gun in a bar, but you got to have a license. Texas is not Arizona. Do not confuse it. Don't get it mixed up in all this confusion. You got to read the bill. You got to understand the law. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It. I'm a U.S. Army veteran with a strong sense of
law and ban bump stocks. It certainly can do so. But we can't have the executive branch rewriting a statute and putting people in jail for up to 10 years.
It's a problem because, this government agency has said, you know what, something that is legal is now illegal, and we're going to confiscate it from you, and we're not going to compensate you for it, and you're going to become a criminal.
The goal of our case here is to tell the ATF that they can't get away with this kind of administrative lawmaking. This isn't constitutionally permissible, and this goes against everything that our nation was founded on.
The bump stock ban turned innocent law-abiding citizens into criminals overnight, even though they were compliant with the statute. And that's not right.
This case is not about where you stand on bump stocks. It's about the rule of law. It's about whether an agency can rewrite a statute and turn a law-abiding citizen into a criminal. If the ATF can ban bump stocks, any agency can ban anything.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
All right, so we're back and we're talking about constitutional carry. We're talking about what does that mean for the state of Texas. We're talking about, we have inside the studio, you know what, Ty Cody. He's going to talk to us about crypto, stocks, and guns. And we also going to have Edwin Walker. He's the principal attorney for Texas U.S. Law Shield. He's going to talk to us about constitutional carry and what that actually means for Texas. But there's some breaking news coming out of North Austin. The Austin Police Department is they're trying to find a former law enforcement officer who used to work for the Travis County Sheriff's Department, who allegedly has killed his entire family. All right, so I want to change gears a little bit. I want to talk about
notice before they could be charged with criminal trespass versus just simply somebody walking without a license.
All right, so let's go back a little bit. I want to go back to gang members. All right, so if I'm in my vehicle, if this bill here in its current format passes, as a gang member, can I have a handgun in my vehicle?
No, the gang member exception still is in place. So now there are a couple of bills. Now I want to say this with the caveat that the gang member exception is something that we've always been skeptical of. And that is because of the secret list of being a gang member. In fact, we have, there is we recently actually had a case where a gang member was arrested in Harris County for unlawful carry. He was not on a motorcycle. He was not wearing his vest. He was not running around with a bunch of his fellow gang members. He was actually in a car with his kids. He has no criminal record. He has an LTC, and he got arrested by Houston police. And fortunately, we were able to show the judge that there was no probable cause because of the exception that exists to 4602 under 4615 is that he had an LTC. 4602 is inapplicable. Okay. So getting an LTC would be a benefit to those individuals. But yeah, the gang member prohibition now expands to not just automobiles, but other places as well.
All right. So on this current bill, the way it's written currently right now, if it does passes, I can have a handgun in my vehicle in the open or concealed, but it just has to be in a holster, and it doesn't say belt holster, shoulder holster anymore.
Correct. And actually, there's another bill in the event that constitutional carry doesn't pass. There is another bill that we are fully behind that we hope does pass, and it will remove the superfluous belt or shoulder language from license holders openly carrying a handgun. All right. That will be just a holster. And so that's kind of on that's on the back burner. That's on the horizon coming forward. So that's at least something positive that we hope gets passed, even if constitutional carry doesn't pass. But it is stuck in the constitutional carry bill as well.
Okay. And then what about college students? If on a college campus, under this current bill, this permitless bill, constitutional carry, would I be able to have my handgun and carry it on a college campus inside the building, sitting in class without a license?
Without a license, no, you would not. It's still prohibited.
So you would have to have a license in order to have it inside the building of a college campus?
Correct. I believe you would still be able to, as an unlicensed individual, have it in the sidewalks, walkways, parking lots, but not on the grounds where they're conducting an activity or in the buildings.
All right. So if I want to,
that's one of the privileges that a license holder would still have over a non-license holder.
So what if I want to walk my kids to school? If I want to walk from my house, I'm going to walk down the street, the sidewalk, parking lot, the garage, and walk my kid to school and kick them inside the school. Can I have a handgun on me without a license under this current bill?
Yes, you can.
All right. All right. Except for the federal law.
Well, yes, except for the federal law. And so that's one of the big hiccups is that if you did want to be fully compliant, now we haven't seen a large amount of ATF agents or FBI or U.S. Marshals or anything, patrolling your local school grounds to get somebody. But the thing about it is that schools and most school administrators, especially in big cities, are very, very hyper concerned about firearms. And so they've even gone to the extent of attempting to prohibit license holders from coming on school campuses during pickup and drop off of students, claiming that that's that's a school-sponsored activity, and therefore firearms are prohibited even by license holders. And so, in the event that a school were to be super extra creative and they got a district attorney's office who would agree, these people could be forwarded to the U.S. Attorney's Office for prosecution.
All right.
I'm not saying it's certainly a possibility. It's within the realm of possibility. I don't know how probable it is, so I don't want to alarm people. But again, one of those things that you'd benefit from getting a license, as would the millions of people who are employed by school districts. So as I read the bill, it did not touch. If your listeners will remember, several sessions ago, the legislature protected school district employees who were license holders by saying a school district could not take any adverse employment action against them if they were a license holder and they kept a gun in their locked motor vehicle on a school parking lot.
All right.
That was not touched.
All right.
So
all right. And
we're talking
with Edwin Walker, principal attorney with Texas U.S. Law Shield. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
Peace, this is Maj Toure. You're listening to Come and Talk It Radio with Michael Cargill.
Hello, my name is Edwin Walker. I'm an independent program attorney with Texas Law Shield. I want to talk to you today about an issue that we see on a daily basis. In fact, you yourself will encounter it on a daily basis, and that is the subject of road rage. I am sure that you have all seen road rage. You may have actually been involved in a road rage incident. Now, if you're a responsible gun owner, I'm going to give you a few words of advice on how to react when you find yourself in one of these unfortunate road rage incidents. While on the roadways, we all observe something that makes us upset. Whether it's poor driving, unsafe driving, or just simply somebody being very discourteous. By all means, you should restrain yourself from engaging that person and telling them how bad their actions were, because this can be perceived as an act of road rage. If you're a lawful gun owner, you have a firearm in your vehicle, you do not want to be viewed as the aggressor in a road rage situation. Now, with regard to a situation where an individual has chosen to rage against you, and you are the actual victim of the road rage, if you and the other individual
first, and if it does go all through those little hoops and hurdles, it will not go into effect until September the 1st. So you still need a license right now, and so it has not passed. So don't jump up and down and think, you don't have to get your license. And we're actually breaking this down for you right now. We have Edwin Walker. He's a principal attorney with Texas U.S. Law Shield, and he's talking to us about the pros and the cons for, constitutional carry, permitless carry, and getting your license and not having your license. And Edwin, so tell us about churches. What about if I want to praise the Lord and pass the ammunition? Do I need a license to carry my handgun inside of a church?
You would not. You would not need a license, and this is one of the things that the bill does. Is that before license holders, of course, people who did not have licenses, they were absolutely prohibited from everywhere. Except for the places that you just said. So now that they have the ability, now if this bill passes, they would have the ability to carry. What the bill does is it's taken all of the prohibited places from 46035 that applied to license holders and incorporated them into 4603, which is a general firearms prohibition. It's created such a longer list. So now not only are you under 4603 for the original places, but now the additional places that were originally only off limits for license holders, which churches were actually taken out of that, a couple of last session.
Right.
And so
back in 2019, they removed churches from that list.
Yeah, churches would be just another piece of private property, which they'd be able to give a license holder. They'd still have to give a license holder 30-6 or 30-7 notice. An unlicensed individual, however, they could just give the random no trespassing because of gun sign. So if it was a gun buster, a no weapons, there's no specific language to inform the non-license holder that they are not allowed to bring a gun. But the license holder still is entitled to the 30-06, 30-07 notice. And so you can imagine that there would be private property that would, that said, look, we've had license carry for 26 years. I'm very comfortable with that. Just not comfortable with these folks who don't have a license carrying. And so I can imagine that there would be plenty of private property places that would post up, say, gunbuster signs, but would not also post up a 30-06 or 30-07 sign.
So I want to make sure I understand this correctly. So if this bill does pass, all they have to do is put up a Ghostbuster sign to prohibit you from carrying a handgun without a license.
Correct, to prevent the unlicensed carrier from bringing their handgun in. Now, in order to kind of equalize the punishments, what they did was they took, and I'm sure that your listeners, being so astute that are aware of, because they listen to Mike Cargill, there's been, over the course of the last several sessions, some adjustments in the penalty and some defenses that were created. Mm-hmm. And now it's, a license holder, it's just simply a Class C misdemeanor. There's a defense now that they have to be told that they weren't allowed to bring it in. If they promptly leave, then they can't be charged. Very similar to the airport defense that was created several sessions ago. And then, of course, if they stay, they're subject to a Class A. And so
I want to make sure I understand that. So under this bill, constitutional carry, if it does passes, if I go to the airport and I forget and I have my gun in my luggage and I go through only in Texas, I go through that checkpoint, you're saying without a license under this constitutional carry bill, I would what?
Without a license, you'd still be allowed to leave.
To leave. Okay.
You would have a defense that there was a gun in my bag. I was not told to leave. I was instead arrested. I should not have been arrested. I should have been given a warning and then allowed to leave and only charged if I had promptly left. Now, what's very interesting, if you're folks, and this is actually for those of you, the listeners that are interested in the legislative process, this is a really good learning experience. And I encourage you to go log on to the Texas Legislature website. It's very, very easy to navigate. That's one thing the legislature has done is that I myself think they've built a great web page about finding stuff and trace the bill, because the way you've been warning people is very, very good about, don't get all excited thinking that now that it's passed the House on third reading, which it did Friday morning, that you can then go carry, because you're right. We are far from that. So now, if people want to watch the legislative process, as German Chancellor Hindenburg used to say, watch the sausage be made. They can see that what kind of bill is going to be, it's going to go over to the House and they're going to knock on the door. It's going to go over to the Senate and they're going to knock on the door of the Senate and they're going to be like, we have something for you from the House. Here, deal with this. And then it'll go to one of the Senate committees and they'll talk about it. And then it'll go to the Senate floor. And of course, during committee and then during the floor debates, it'll be open to amendment and they'll change some things. And then there'll be a reconciliation to see if there were so many things or so important things that were changed by the Senate that they then have to be re-voted on by the House, or if there's a committee that can fix those things and straighten out the differences.
Because they'll have to have a conference committee. First, it has to go to the Senate. Senate's going to agree to whatever bill they're going to agree to. And then if there are differences in the bill, what you're saying is they have to meet in a conference committee to hash out those differences.
Yes. And then it has to go back to the respective bodies.
The clock is ticking, Edwin. The clock is ticking.
Correct. To agree on what changes were made. And this all has to be done before the clock strikes midnight on the last day of the session.
That's right.
So if they are one step short and the clock, just like Cinderella, and the clock strikes midnight on the last day of the session, it's dead. It's gone. It's over.
And we saw how long this took to pass the House. It took pretty much almost the entire day.
Yeah, and that was fascinating too.
Right.
It was a floor debate that did last the entire day. The Democrats, the anti-gun folks, pulled out all the stops. They brought out all the hyperbole, all the false information, all the bad data. all of the heartstrings, all of the it was just ridiculous. And actually, the church thing was one of the things, was that a woman, one of the reps got up and said, are you telling me a church can't, is not protected? And Rep Schaefer said a church is private property. It has the exact same protection as any other piece of property. And of course, she did not either listen, or she was not going to be stopped in her grandstanding, and just said, and shouted to the rest of the members, I want y'all to read this bill. You will not find the word church in it anywhere. As if that was, that was the be all and end all, not accepting the fact that a church was treated just that we weren't giving special protections. Church was treated equally, just like grocery stores and sporting goods stores and any other piece of private property. They just wouldn't accept that. And one of the best ones, though, if I could, like I said, I encourage people to watch this. I know they don't want to sit through the entire 8 or 9 hours that it took. But one state rep, actually a freshman state rep from the Houston area, that I actually, knew her as a prosecutor, got up and actually coined a new phrase. Apparently she was giving an illustration of a bakery that was in her district that apparently is only that only employs special needs elderly people and teenagers.
Oh, wow.
So that's and I believe she was engaging in a bit of hyperbole on this.
Yeah. So all she has to do is post a sign or tell people verbally, no, they can't come in with a gun.
Correct. And that's where she said the problem was because the bakery that she was speaking of apparently only hired elderly special needs people who would be intimidated and not be physically able to confront somebody to tell them that they couldn't bring their gun in. And of course, the person who she said would be bringing her gun in would be a pimp with his entourage.
Nice.
This is in the record. It's hilarious.
Racist.
A pimp that she said, just imagine a pimp and his entourage come into their bakery carrying Wild West pimp style.
Oh my goodness.
And they're not able to do anything about it.
Shame on her. Shame on her.
Oh, yeah. No.
So if I walked in with my girlfriends, she would not want me to come inside the place. Shame on her.
Not if you were carrying Wild West pimp style, which I believe is a subcategory of carrying. Yes. So I've Googled that to see exactly what that means. Wild West pimp style.
All right. So everyone, let me ask you about 46035. So looking at 46035 on this current bill, if constitutional carry passes on this current form, what about bars? What about schools, college campuses? Sporting events, high school sporting events, college sporting events, professional sporting events. What about the correctional facility? What about the hospital? What about the amusement park? What about civil commitment? What about the nut house?
Well, basically what this does is it brings everything, all these prohibited places, it brings them down to be treated exactly the same.
Okay.
They're all treated exactly. It's still a crime. You can still be charged with a crime. But they will be required to give you notice. Then if you fail to depart.
Is it a felony or a Class A misdemeanor on this current bill?
I believe that it retained all of the felony charges.
Because currently,
but I will have to go back and check.
Okay, yeah, because currently, right now, the alcohol, the bar, it's a felony, and then everything else in 46035 is going to be a Class A misdemeanor, except for bars and except for correction facility.
Correct.
Okay.
And see what, like I said, one of this bill really did serve two purposes.
Okay.
Is that number one, obviously, was to create permitless carry, but number two was to create some uniformity with regard to these prohibited places. Okay. And so I think it took a little inspiration from the original airport defense bill, which of course was created because a legislator or a friend of a legislator got caught at the airport with a gun. And they said, for licensed carry holders, now you get the opportunity, you have a defense that you must be asked to leave. And so I think that's what one of the primary purposes of the bill was to kind of make everything uniform. And Representative Schaefer said this many times during the floor debate on Thursday, that he wanted to make sure that people were not charged with crimes for making a mistake.
Right. And so we have a big hurdle because, this has got to pass the Senate. And so you got to convince the Senate that it's okay for all this stuff to be fine with the Senate, these changes. And it's a lot, it's a lot the stomach is a lot to get past. It's just, because, and people are trying to compare this, Edwin, to like Arizona. They're saying, hey, well, Edwin, in Arizona, Arizona went to constitutional carry and they were able to keep their license to carry program. And it actually maintained, a steady, gradual increase in the handgun license. But Edwin, what they failed to mention is that Arizona only has 350,000 license holders, well, Texas has 1.5 million. You can't compare Texas to Arizona.
Well, Texas has a lot more people too, just in general. And so, you're going to get a lot more license holders. And, the thing about it is that it'll be interesting to see the ramifications of all the gun buying from last year, because obviously, and that's one of the big talking points of the media is that whenever they talk about the permitless carry bill, the words "without training" always seem to follow very closely on their description of what it means. And so obviously we encourage people to get training regardless, license holders or non-license holder. I mean, even if you don't have a license and you can carry in your car in your house, you should still go get training. Training is fantastic. It's a lot of fun. It teaches you the law. Obviously, if you want to know the law, pick up a copy of Texas Gun Law, Armed and Educated, produced and distributed by Texas Law Shield. I'm one of the co-authors. So, but also, I would say that one of the big impediments to training, though, is the price of ammunition. I mean, that is really quite the encumbrance. I was thinking about, because I went through Clint Smith's Thunder Ranch about 20 years ago when it was out in Mountain Home. And over the course of that training, we shot up 3,000 rounds of ammunition.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine having to buy 3,000 rounds of ammunition in today's market?
Ooh, all right.
And shoot it up within a week?
All right. All right, Edwin, we have to take this up next week. We're going to have to come back again. We have to break this down again for people because I want people to understand this. I want them to understand the differences between the Texas handgun license and if this constitutional carry bill does pass and what the hurdle they're looking at. You got to get past the Senate. You got to get past the governor in order to make this all happen. This is a big change.
It's a fascinating legislative process, and I think all of your listeners will get a great education if they dig into it and start following it to see what happens.
All right. Thank you, Edwin Walker. He's the principal attorney with Texas U.S. Law Shield. Thank you, Edwin.
Thank you, Mike.
All right. And let's go to Austin Police Department. The Austin Police Chief is talking about the current shooting that happened in Austin, Texas.
That does not mean that he is not dangerous. He is still at large. We do think that he is armed, and he is very much dangerous. At this point, we've exhausted every effort in searching this particular area for the suspect. We brought in many of our resources, including our air support, our K-9 teams, our several SWAT teams have been out here, and as well as our officers from other departments. I want to thank our partners who have been very strong, including the fire department, EMS, DPS, Round Rock, the U.S. Marshals, and particularly the FBI. The FBI, because the initial report was that it was an active shooter, mobilized and came out and has been here as a support unit. At this point, we have lifted the shelter-in-place order. We are telling people that they can go ahead and come out of their businesses or residences in this area, but to remain vigilant and to be safe. At this point, I think it's proper for us to ask once again of our public, please help us. If you have information about where this individual might be, please call 911. If you see this individual, please do not approach him, call 911 and let us know if you see him. I think that it is also proper right now for us to just a reminder that we have 3 people here that lost their lives. The thoughts and prayers of this community are with them. I have our city leaders, the city manager is here, and on behalf of the Austin Police Department, we're very sorry that obviously that this has happened, and we continue to try and locate this individual. We are transitioning from a search in this area to a fugitive search. Those efforts will continue until this person is located. So I don't want anyone to think that we're packing up and going home. We are going to continue to look for this individual because he continues to pose a threat to this community. At this point, I want to go ahead and allow the special agent in charge for this area, Christopher Combs, to come up and provide some comments from the FBI perspective.
Thank you, Chief. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Christopher Combs. I'm the FBI special agent in charge for Austin. We received this call as an active shooter, and as it is our policy nationwide, if there's ever an active shooter, we will deploy all of our resources to help our local partners. I want to really call out Chief Chacon for an unbelievable response. Had it actually been an active shooter, the rapid response of Austin Police and Austin Fire Department, along with the FBI backing them up, would have brought the situation to a close very quickly. As we look at the last month in this country and the number of active shooters we had, I really think what happened here is a model on how we have to respond. It has to be a very aggressive law enforcement and fire department response so that we can make sure that we get on scene and we can stop the shooter from going mobile or killing any more people. We have about 75 FBI agents here on scene supporting the Austin Police Department. At this point in time, we do not see any federal nexus to this. It is a domestic dispute, and we will be in support of the chief with our investigative assets, our SWAT assets. We have air assets here. Anything that the chief needs to make sure that Austin is safe, we will continue to do this, and we will be here as long as the chief needs us. Again, great job by the Austin Police and the Austin Fire Department. The people of Austin should be very proud of their public servants that came here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Special Agent Combs. At this point, we will begin to demobilize some of the units that you see in the area. We will still have units in this area continuing to search, as well as we have an active crime scene that we're investigating out here, and that is going to take several hours to wrap that up. So many of the roads out here will remain closed until that is done. If you don't need to be in the area because of the road closures, I would say that it's probably best to avoid it for right now. Right now, that's basically the extent of the information that we have. I will take a couple of questions. Not sure there's much more that I can provide.
All right, so that's the Austin Police Chief, Chief Chacon. He's given us a briefing about the shooting that happened in North Austin today. What you had is Austin Police Chief Chacon providing an on-scene brief regarding the incident in Great Hills Trail and Rain Creek Parkway. And the suspect is Stephen Nicholas Broderick, black male, 41 years of age, 5 feet and 7 inches. Used to be a Travis County Sheriff's deputy, an investigator. And he apparently killed 3 people, and he's on the run, and the police are looking for him. And they're continuing the search. They're backing down, they're pulling things down a little bit, but they're continuing that search and looking for him. This is an active investigation. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Jack Jones here, and I get my gun news from Michael Cargill on Come and Talk It.
Whether it's a typical traffic stop or you're just involved in a use of force incident, encounters with law enforcement can be scary and stressful. In the heat of the moment, you may inadvertently say something you don't mean or make an inconsistent statement. These are red flags for officers, and if they think you're lying or your story doesn't add up, they might arrest you and let the criminal justice system decide your fate. Police officers are trained to get information from you without making the interaction seem like a formal interrogation. But remember, from the moment an officer arrives on scene, everything you say and everything you do will be scrutinized in court. The prosecuting attorney will attempt to use anything and everything against you. So what do? You say, I invoke my right to remain silent, and then let your attorney interact with law enforcement on your behalf. One important note though, do not throw common sense out the window. For example, if the intruder's hiding somewhere in your house when the police arrive, or if you saw the perpetrator pitch his weapon into your backyard, quickly tell the police and then stop talking. You might ask,
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
All right, so we're going to bring to the conversation Ty Cody. You know, Ty deals in crypto, stocks, and guns. And he loves to talk about crypto and stock. Well, he loves to talk about stocks. You know, this is my, you know, Ty is like my, you know, he's my Bitcoin boyfriend. So we're going to talk. His girlfriend's in the store. In the studio. She's like, whoa, hold on now.
She's like, I didn't know about this.
You telling me something I did not know. All right, so we're going to talk about Bitcoin. We're going to talk about cryptocurrency. We're going to talk about stocks. We're going to talk about guns. So, Ty, first, tell me, where are you from, Ty?
I'm originally from Los Angeles.
L.A. Oh, Lord, he's an implant, y'all.
I know.
He's an
I hate
implant.
to be the
That's okay. That's okay.
news.
You're okay. But Ty's a good guy. He's a good guy. All right, so you're from L.A. Go ahead.
Los Angeles, moved here about 7 months ago.
Nice.
I got family here, so I've been coming here for a long time.
Right.
Like about 20 years they've lived here. So I'm not new to the area.
Nice.
I'm pretty familiar with Texas. And, you know, after, I don't know if you kind of wanted to go into that, but after everything that happened last year, it was pretty, it made it a pretty easy choice to move to Texas. There was just a lot going on.
All
And
right.
I think last year exposed, you know, a lot of the issues in California.
Now, how did you get involved into, well, first, you know, well, tell us a little bit about guns in California, because in California, you
man.
couldn't own a gun.
I mean, it sucks.
You
It's
couldn't protect yourself.
Yeah. Well, okay. So good question. Good topic. Because I'm kind of passionate about this one, because
Preach.
the biggest issue that I had was, you know, last year when everything was going down, I lived on La Brea. So I was right there in the midst of it, like ground zero where everything was going on.
Mhm.
And it was chaos. I mean, it was complete anarchy. And there's one thing to say, like, you know, anarchy is one thing, because I live in a very like primitive mindset, you know, like I don't believe anyone's here to protect us, kind of a thing.
Right.
Because we're all still animals at the end of the day.
Right.
That's how I look at the world. So in this case, when I see anarchy around me, if I can't protect myself, or if I become a criminal just because I want to protect myself, that's a problem. You know, like that's not okay. And so that was like kind of the easy defining moment for me. I'm just like, we have complete chaos around us, and whether you have guns or not, you can't do anything about it. You know, and like that's just not that's not okay. You know, anarchy is one thing, dealing with it. Okay, I can handle that. But when you got, you know, your girlfriend, you got dogs, and you can't protect yourself, you know, that's whack. I'm out. You know?
And it's crazy. You got a big, huge homeless problem. You know, there's
Yeah.
so much going on in California.
Okay, so yeah, you know, that's another thing that has ramped up more than, there's no way to explain it. There really isn't. Where anywhere you go, I'm talking about next to like $1 million homes, $3 million homes, you have encampments.
Mm,
And that's crazy.
mm.
That's absolutely crazy. And I don't think it's going to be solved anytime soon. And you know, it affects your quality of life at the end of the day. You know, at the end of the day, right? We just want to be happy. That's affecting your quality of life. And it's, you know, I feel bad for them, but the city's not doing anything about it. You know, the state's not doing anything about it. So like, what do you know, it's like, go where, not necessarily you're treated better, but go where the quality of life is better.
All right. So you
know?
decided to pack up and say, hey, I'm leaving.
It
I'm
was a
gonna
quick
leave
decision.
California.
It was quick. Yeah.
Really?
I mean, it took 3 months to kind of look at the landscape. I told her, I was like, yeah, I think I'm about like moving to Texas. And I brought that up on her. She had no idea. And then weeks later, I'm like, yeah, this is happening. Let's go. I was just over it.
We're talking with Ty Cody. We're going to talk about cryptocurrency. We're going to talk about stocks. We're going to talk about guns. You know, Bitcoin took a huge dive over the night. It dropped down to $52,000. $52,000. It's now going back up a little bit, you know, but it dropped down as far as $52,000. We're going to find out why we come back from the break. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
Peace, this is Maj Toure. You're listening to Come and Talk It Radio with Michael Cargill.
I'm a U.S. Army veteran with a strong sense of duty and respect for our system of government. After 12 years, I was honorably discharged and decided I would fulfill the American dream of entrepreneurship and open up a gun shop in Austin, Texas. At my shop, I teach people to be law-abiding and how to safely use their firearm. On page 46, going to talk about Penal Code Section 46.02. The day that ban went into effect, I went into my local ATF in Austin and turned over my bump stock because I'm a law-abiding citizen. But I wasn't going down without a legal fight. So that's why I reached out to NCLA.
NCLA is representing Michael Cargill because federal agencies do not have the power to rewrite statutes. Bump stocks are not machine guns. If Congress wants to change the law and ban bump stocks, it certainly can do so. But we can't have the executive branch rewriting a statute and putting people in jail for up to 10 years.
It's a problem because, this government agency has said, you know what, something that is legal is now illegal, and we're going to confiscate it from you, and we're not going to compensate you for it, and you're going to become a criminal.
The goal of our case here is to tell the ATF that they can't get away with this kind of administrative lawmaking. This isn't constitutionally permissible, and this goes against everything that our nation was founded on.
The bump stock ban turned innocent law-abiding citizens into criminals overnight, even though they were complying with the statute. And that's not right.
This case is not about where you stand on bump stocks. It's about the rule of law. It's about whether an agency can rewrite a statute and turn a law-abiding citizen into a criminal. If the ATF can ban bump stocks, any agency can ban anything.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
All right, so we're back and we're talking about cryptocurrency, talking about Bitcoin. We're talking about guns. We're talking about stocks, bonds. Get you involved in that, and also guns. Well, there's breaking news out of North Austin, Texas, where the Austin Police Department is looking for Stephen Nicholas Broderick, black male, 41 years of age, 5 feet 7 inches, former Travis County Sheriff's deputy investigator who allegedly killed his family and is on the run from the police. According to the Travis County District Attorney's Office, they released a statement just moments ago. Today, the Travis County District Attorney Jose Garza released the following statement, and it reads, "My heart breaks for the victims of this senseless act of violence and their families," said District Attorney Jose Garza. "Our office has been clear that acts of violence committed in our community will not be tolerated. I am grateful to the courageous members of our law enforcement community who are actively working to bring Mr. Broderick into custody. When he is apprehended, he will be held accountable. Mr. Broderick, the alleged assailant, was originally arrested for sexual assault of a child on June 5th, 2020. Mr. Broderick was released on a $50,000 bond in June of 2020. Today, the Travis County District Attorney's Office filed a motion to revoke that bond. The office is actively supporting the Austin Police Department and law enforcement who are using all available resources to apprehend Mr. Broderick." All right, so this story is evolving as we go by the day, and that is the statement of the Travis County District Attorney's Office. All right, so let's get back to cryptocurrency. Let's get back to Bitcoin. Ty, so
Yes,
tell
sir.
me, man, you know what? Bitcoin took a huge dive. Why in the world did my Bitcoin drop down?
So, good question. It's funny because we were trading this last night, not Bitcoin specifically. But what had happened was
I like that. What had happened was
there was basically there's a couple different things people are throwing out there as like rumors saying the Treasury was going to charge banks with money laundering. But I think for evidence like that, they're not going to put it out on a tweet because that was kind of the whole rumor of what sparked it off. But you have to remember when people are buying into Bitcoin how they have been, and especially in the last year since like Q2 2020 in the stock market, crypto, whatever it is, stocks only go up is kind of the phrase, until they don't.
Right.
So what you see here is a lot of people basically going into positions and buying long. Most people don't know how to short. They only know how to buy. So they buy something and just hold it. But what's worse is they'll go in on leverage. So a lot of these crypto exchanges, specifically Binance was a big one last night, actually saw the largest single liquidation in Bitcoin history for about $68 million. So for example, say it was one person that had 680,000 bucks and they levered that up and used leverage on Binance. So they were holding a $68 million position. Now their slippage before they get liquidated is going to be really, really small. But if everything keeps going up, they're making so much money, right? Like as long as it doesn't dip just enough to hit their liquidation price, they're making a lot of money. So what happens is, there are whales out there, there are sharks out there that can see all of these liquidation levels on these levered positions. So it's kind of like one of those things where, if you have enough money to do it, you're going to wreck it. If you can go and collect this money from these long positions and you say, okay, if we can get price down to say 57,000 quick, we can start hitting liquidation and stops really fast.
Oh, wow.
And so again, coming from the market psychology aspect on my side, I'm guessing that's kind of what happened. More so anything that enough people, you got to bounce from like 50K. Funny enough, I was actually short Bitcoin at 60K, didn't take profit at 50 because I thought, if we breach 50, there's not much support. I mean, we can probably nail another 10,000 out of this down. Ended up reshorting at 61 or 60. I think it was like
When
60.
you say reshorting, what does that mean?
I basically went short again. So we bounced back up, came back up to 60. I reshorted again at like 61K.
So you bought into it at 61K?
No, I shorted it. So I was betting it was going to go down.
So you didn't buy into it?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
I was basically to the short side.
I'm going to try to translate this for the common person.
So basically what it means is like I was betting that it was going to go down.
Okay.
And then it breached about 62 and a half or something. And I finally just covered my short. I was like, it's not going to happen now, whatever. Anyways, when you see these overbought levels for so long and such a big ramp, again, everything doesn't, what comes up must come down kind of a thing. And it went up so fast that it's not, I'm not, it's not surprising. To see what happened is not surprising.
Right.
It really isn't, because you have enough people thinking that it only goes up. Everyone's pumping Bitcoin. Everyone's pumping crypto. Everywhere you look, it's like annoying. Like, and like I have a private community where I'm like joking about, I'm like, I'm over it. Like I can't even go on Facebook or like Twitter from people that aren't in crypto, have never spoken about crypto, and they're all talking about crypto. I'm like, oh my God, make it stop.
Because what do you say? What do you say to people that are, you know, that are pushing this right now because it's so high and didn't push it when it was low?
Well, they don't push it when it's low because it's not hot, right? It's not sexy. Nobody wants to talk about it when, you know, it's 3,000 or 5,000.
Because now's the time to buy. Now that it's dropped down, I'm telling people to buy now. So buy now.
So here's the thing.
It's dropped down.
Here's the thing. If you're a buy and hold investor, dips generally get bought, right? So if you're averaging in over time, disclaimer, I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. I'm just going to throw that out there. If you're holding long term, like 5 to 10 years, you know, like you're going to buy dips is kind of what just the general investor, if you're buying like an index fund or something like that on the main market, that's what you'll do.
Right. I wish I was paying attention when it dropped down to 52,000.
Well, so here's the thing. Nobody talks about it then, right? Because everyone's like, it's dead, it's dead.
I missed that. I wish someone would, I wish you would have sent that text to me earlier and say, hey, Michael, it's at 52,000. I'd be like,
but now it's hot and everyone wants to talk about it. But then again, you have to remember there's whales and sharks out there that see this. You get all these new people that come into these levered positions.
Right.
And it doesn't take much for a few whales to come together and know that they can take. There was a record amount of liquidations last night. It was like over 1 million traders got liquidated last night. The biggest one was 68 million. And I think it was like 24-hour
period. When you say liquidated, they sold their Bitcoin.
Basically, they were levered long. And so if it drops down just a little bit below the price, they have to, the exchange basically has to say, yeah, you're done. And you lose all your money. You're done. So like I said, the guy
when you say liquidated, what does that mean?
Liquidated meaning the exchange closes your position because they're about to lose money if they don't close your position. Okay. Because they gave you margin. Okay. They gave you money that you didn't have.
So at this point here, you have to so you're out.
Correct. So for example, let's just say it's
take your money and get out.
Say it's 50,000.
Okay.
But you went out on leverage at 50x or whatever.
Okay.
If the price drops below like 49.50 or something like that, 49,500. They might have to just close your position. You lost all your money. You're done because you're using leverage. I don't know what like an easy way to explain it, but basically you're using money you don't have.
Okay, gotcha.
You're using some of their money. So they have to close that position because then they're going to start losing money. So what happened last night in like a 24-hour period, it was like $9.5 billion was liquidated. Oh, so now you have to think about it imagine you're one of those guys that you see what's happening. Everyone's levered. They can see these liquidation levels. All they have to do is just put enough money behind it to start crashing it, and they come collect. So last night, whoever was on the other side of that, like made billions of dollars. Within 20 minutes?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm talking. Like there's always other sharks and whales in the water. Oh, yeah. Like that's why when everyone's pumping, and I know he mentioned, I don't know if you want to talk about it. I don't want to mention it yet unless you bring it up. You just have to be very careful. When everyone's talking about it, I always play the devil's advocate on that side. When everybody is talking about it, I mean everybody. Like anybody that's never spoken about markets or anything, when they're all saying, "Oh yeah, it's time to buy," it's not the time to buy. Yeah. No, it's not.
We're talking with Ty. We're talking with Ty Cody. We're talking about Bitcoin. We're talking about cryptocurrency. I'm telling you, don't hate the player, hate the game. We come back. We're going to talk about GameStop. We're going to talk about what you want to talk about. We come back from the break. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
This is Brittany Glaze, and I get my global gun news from Michael Cargill on Come and Talk It.
Whether it's a typical traffic stop or you're just involved in a use of force incident, encounters with law enforcement can be scary and stressful. In the heat of the moment, you may inadvertently say something you don't mean or make an inconsistent statement. These are red flags for officers, and if they think you're lying or your story doesn't add up, they might arrest you and let the criminal justice system decide your fate. Police officers are trained to get information from you without making the interaction seem like a formal interrogation. But remember, From the moment an officer arrives on scene, everything you say and everything you do will be scrutinized in court. The prosecuting attorney will attempt to use anything and everything against you. So what do you say? You say, I invoke my right to remain silent, and then let your attorney interact with law enforcement on your behalf. One important note though, do not throw common sense out the window. For example, if the intruder's hiding somewhere in your house when the police arrive, or if you saw the perpetrator pitch his weapon into your backyard, quickly tell the police and then stop talking. You might ask, what about my rights? What if the police never read me my Miranda rights? Miranda rights is the common name for a collection of rights contained in the Miranda warnings, given to suspects when they're placed under arrest. The warning comes from a 1966 Supreme Court case, Miranda v. Arizona. In that case, the court held that statements from a custodial interrogation would not be admissible unless proper procedural safeguards were in place to protect the defendant's Fifth Amendment rights. We've all seen these warnings on TV and movies. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to have an attorney. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law, and so on. So do police have to read you your rights? No. It's important to note that officers are not required to read you these rights unless you're in custody and subjected to interrogation. If the police show up to a crime scene and start asking you general questions and you voluntarily tell them everything that happened, those statements can be used against you regardless of the Miranda warnings because you're not in custody. If you're put in handcuffs but you say something incriminating on your own without being questioned, those statements can and will be used against you because you're not being interrogated. You're just starting to spout off. This is why it's imperative that you know your rights, and you shouldn't rely on the police to read them to you. Affirmatively invoke your rights. Say, I'm invoking my right to remain silent, and my right to my attorney. Once you do that, the police legally shouldn't continue questioning you without your attorney present. But remember, there's a second part to this equation. After invoking your rights, you must exercise those rights. That means you have to keep your mouth closed. Protect yourself. Don't let the legal system take advantage of you after an incident. And Law Shield members, if you've been involved in a self-defense incident, remember to call the emergency hotline and speak with your independent program attorney.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
All right, we're talking about cryptocurrency, talking about Bitcoin, talking about stocks, bonds. We're going to talk about what happened with GameStop, but you know what?
First,
Taylor.
we should talk about Dogecoin because it was spared the dip last night. And if you don't know what Dogecoin is, it's an altcoin that was originally used to give people props on a social media website. Now has become kind of all the rage, which is what Ty here is against, right? The hype.
Yeah, I hate the hype. I hate it because it just
Come
creates.
on, you got to love the hype. Don't hate the player, hate the game.
The reason why I hate hype in general is because when things are hypey as they are now, the only way to win and make money is to do the stuff that doesn't make any sense. And then it's really tough to be disciplined when
I got a secret for you.
when things don't make sense.
I'm going to tell you a secret, Ty. You want to know?
Yeah, hit me.
Buy XRP.
Okay. What about it? About Ripple?
That's all I'm going to say. I've only said it once. I'm not going to repeat it.
So
you rewind it if you want to hear it again.
Yeah. So I mean, they were being investigated by the SEC. The SEC dropped the ball on that, and you know, since then it's popped back tremendously. I mean, insanely. And it's funny enough, I missed that whole run because up until about a week ago, I haven't traded crypto in about almost 2 years because the main market was, you know, just doing its thing.
Don't be scared.
So I missed that, unfortunately. And I missed even it's funny, 2017 run, you know, I was in there and I was active, but I missed most of that too, because again, the charts were like 5 minutes old. Like, what am I going to do?
What was Ripple being investigated for?
You know, that's a good question. And the only reason why I don't know that is because, again, on my side of things, I'm more of a technical trader. I don't care about the fundamentals. I don't care about anything that they're doing. I don't care. It has nothing it doesn't affect what I'm doing based on a near term, you know, charting and technical situation. The big market, I'll look at fundamental catalyst. But again, even the company, I don't care what they're doing. I'm not a guy that's holding for 5 years. So what they're doing in a year from now doesn't bother me. It doesn't matter. And it's funny you bring up Dogecoin because, you know, we were trading that in the community last night. And the only reason why I'm trading, it was a joke to me because I'm like, I can't believe I'm trading this dog. You know what I mean? Like the dog, like this is crazy to me that I'm actually participating in this, but it had enough participants. The volume is there. The activity is
Be careful,
there.
dog may pee on you.
Yeah. So in and out, you know, like I was scalping it. I don't care about what anything is doing in the long term, at least not right now.
All right. So tell me about GameStop.
That was a ride too. That was a hypey ride. I don't even know where to begin with that whole thing. Basically, there was if you're not aware, there was an insane amount of short interest. Basically, more than the short shares that were even available. The company was basically being bet against to die, is what was happening. And last year was you can't make sense of it really, because again, what doesn't make sense was making all the money. But basically, GameStop, people on the internet, Reddit specifically, they all came together and they did it. You know, like it's kind of cool to watch it. They did it. They basically put enough money behind retail, put enough money behind to squeeze shorts out. And what happens is they were doing it in a pretty unique way. Instead of buying shares, they were buying call options. And to try to make this easy to explain, if I buy one call option, it gives me the option to buy 100 shares, but it basically gives me leverage essentially without losing more than I put in. There are small situations where you could lose more, but that's a whole nother topic. But enough people band together, bought call options. And when they were buying these call options, the people that they're buying these call options from, they're institutions, hedge funds, big banks, they have to go neutral on that position. So if I buy one call option, you might have to buy shares to go neutral on that position, because if the calls go, or if price is going up, you know, I'm winning, but somehow you're losing, right? Unless you went neutral on that. So you have to buy the shares to basically go net neutral on that trade. So what happened is an influx that's never been seen before was buying call options. I mean, like, it was crazy. I've never seen anything like it. I'm pretty sure nobody's ever seen anything like it.
Yeah, it was unpredicted. And one other thing that's kind of happening in the digital space, are you aware of NFTs?
Yes, I am. But again, you're not going to like my...
Yeah, I mean, I don't,
yeah.
I'm not a big fan of them either, but what is your opinion of them?
Bubbly.
Bubbly.
You know, I think there is a place and time for it for sure. Right now, everything is just so hyped that I think that there's something there for sure. But buying into stuff like that right now, you know, maybe for a quick flip, but I think at some point, you know, like we got to come back to reality at the end of the day. You know, there's so much pumpy and hypey stuff.
The only thing I could see it really doing would be replacing DMCA when it comes to the music industry, and maybe even helping musicians and artists out. But
so I think for creators, it could be a great thing. I think people starting to like take control of their own work is huge. I think that's awesome. There's different ways to look at it. I think the biggest thing right now is I think it's been looked at it with art. I think that's a big portion of it. You know, other than that, I don't have too much really to say on that stuff. But I think a lot of stuff right now is bubbly. Like you seeing an NFT by Beebles being sold for like $69 million. Like,
and it'd be like a picture of a stick figure or something.
Yeah,
like that.
like
it's kind of absurd.
Like, what are we doing here? You know what I mean? Like, and I get it, but I think it's slightly hypey right now.
And if the listeners don't know, NFTs are tokenized digital art that like you own this unique piece of thing, and
Right.
it's like things aren't really too unique on the internet now because they can be copied, and this is
Right.
like a
It's
uniquely verified thing.
it's almost like a bragging right, where
Mhm.
it's like, okay, you see a screenshot of like a funny meme or something, right? Or or not even a screenshot, but like you see a picture of something that looks cool, but it's being shared all over. This would allow you to say like, that's actually mine. I own that. But my thing is like, I always wanted to know, okay, if I buy that NFT, my biggest thing is like, how do I get paid? I want to get paid on that.
Exactly.
You know, so it's like, okay, so am I going to get licensing on it? Like that was always my big thing. Because if you're just buying it to say I own it, who cares?
Now, do you trade for yourself or you trade
Just-
for other people?
Just for myself.
Just for yourself?
Yep.
So if I give you some money, you're not gonna trade it for me?
Nope.
Why?
I'm not licensed.
Okay. On the DL? I'm just asking for a friend.
My lawyer's not present. I cannot make
Why
any
y'all laughing at me
statements.
now? So your lawyer's not present? I'm not a
His
cop.
girlfriend's shaking her head, though.
But your girlfriend's sitting over here going, don't even try it. All right. So tell me, what made you get into guns? You know, why, you moved to Texas. What made you get yourself a gun once you got here to Texas?
I mean, I've had guns.
And
I've
you
been
got it
shooting
quick.
guns. Oh, yeah. You know what's funny about that is I came to you. I came to Michael. I don't even
Before
remember-
you actually moved to Austin.
What? I think it was. Yeah. I think I was looking for it like right away. I want to say
I'm a stalker. I stalked you on social media. I was like, this dude, because I asked you something in class. It was something you said in class. I don't know what it was. And I said, you know what? Let me just check this guy out.
Some background.
Yeah. So I was like, let me check this out. And I checked him out. And it's like, before you even moved to Texas, you came and got your LTC.
Oh, yeah. That was. I mean, I think I'd landed for like 3 days. And I'm like, yep. Time to get strapped up. Legally.
Right.
That's the key word.
Right. What made you do it? Why?
Again, kind of like, what I was just seeing. After moving from where we were, it sucks because I love LA.
Mhm.
I thought I was gonna be there for life, and for how fast everything went downhill, and just kind of like society, even just society as a whole, things changed really quick.
Because y'all don't vote.
I'm not even gonna talk about that. I'm not gonna, because you're
The truth hurts.
yeah. I mean, well,
And I'm going to make it painful.
Here's the thing. I didn't vote. So
Oh, I know,
you're
trust
probably
me.
not going to like that either, but I didn't vote last year.
Mhm.
Or the
You
this
regret it,
previous-
don't you?
I don't know. I think I
You don't know.
No contest. Yeah, it was I don't know. I think it's more so
That's that generation right there, folks.
I just want to I just needed to be legal. That
Right.
was a big, because it's like, it's one thing to be legal and it's
Right.
one thing to not. I'm not going to be, I'm not going to get jammed up when I'm not legal. It's not okay.
And then what do you think about like constitutional carry? So if that passes, people don't need a license. They can all carry a gun. Should they take a class? Do they not, would you, if constitutional carry had passed before you came to Texas, you moved here, would you take a class?
Yeah. I think
That was a soft yes.
But no, but hear me out. Hear me out.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't think I necessarily agree. I'm a Second Amendment advocate. I think everyone, that's a legal abiding citizen should be able to own a firearm to protect themselves and their family. On the other hand, I don't necessarily like people not being potentially like at least trained at the most basic level having guns. I don't like that because human beings are emotional and it's not hard to push somebody over the edge. And without proper training, I think that could turn into a lot of bad situations. And, especially with, the way it's been like the last year, a lot of the chaos that's been happening, I think people need training, so I think it's, I don't know if I necessarily agree, with constitutional carry. I think there should still be some kind of training because again, I think at their core, people are emotional.
All right. And thank you, Ty Cody. Thank you for coming in the studio here. All right. As always, more guns equals less crime. You go out there and you buy yourself a gun. You've been listening to Come and Talk It with Michael Cargill.